So thank you. I really appreciate having the opportunity to be here today. And with that robust introduction from Peter, I want to tell you just a little bit about myself and why I'm standing here today. I am the business instructor for Casey Riley School of Massage. So I come in at the same point where you are. I come in at the very end of their massage therapy school. They have a wonderful practice. They're wonderful massage therapists, but they need to know a little bit about business. And I know some of you here today have your own practices, so this might be a refresher or continuing education. And for some of you, maybe you're transitioning from one career to another, so this might give you some ideas. Or maybe this is the first time you've ever thought about having your own business. So I hope what I go through today helps you. If you have questions, at the bottom of the handout you're getting in just a moment is my email address. We only have about 45 minutes together, and I teach for the Casey Riley School of Massage about 20 hours. I also wrote and I teach transpersonal business for Atlantic University, and that's a 12-week online course. So what you're getting is my 45-minute crash course in business. So I just want to let you know I do have a master's in industrial and organizational psychology. That's the kinder side of an MBA. We think about people's feelings and how they are in the office, not just about numbers. So it's with great pleasure that I get to stand in front of you and we talk about starting your holistic business and really how to have a perfect practice. So we're going to do an overview. We're going to touch on a few points about goal setting and planning, and then go through a few points that could really help you in contemplating setting up a business or maybe helping you in your current business.
Take until 10:15, and you can have a whole hour. Don't feel late.
Thanks. Okay. We'll see where we go then. Don't give me more time. My grandfather was a performer, and we'd give him really big band performer. We'd give him a microphone and he'd say, before we gave it to him, he said, "Are you sure you want me to have this microphone and an unlimited amount of time?" We always regretted it about 45 minutes in. Those were at family parties. You should have seen him really on stage. There was like the hook that pulled him off. So you can pull me off. So if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand, interrupt me. I like more of a workshop sort of presentation. Or if you want, you can write them down and we'll have a Q&A at the end. I can keep going or we can stop. It's really up to you. So if you're ready, does everyone have a handout? Okay. You can fill this out as we go along. You can look at me the whole time in the slides, whatever you want to do. But I wanted you to have a little bit so you could put it in your textbooks or your binders that you have with you today. So you had something as a reminder when you got home. So we're going to get started. So a goal without a plan is just a wish. What does that mean? It means you can set a goal, but if you have no pathway to get there, how are you ever going to reach it? In 1979, Harvard MBA scholars started a research project with that class. And they asked that class one question. Have you set written goals and created a plan for attainment? They were very curious out of that 1979 class, how many people really set goals? So this is very interesting. I really liked this research project. 84 of the class had set no goals, 84%, no goals. 13% set goals, but 3% both set goals and made a plan of how they were going to reach those goals. So 10 years later, in 1989, the researchers came back and asked them some questions. I bet you can imagine what they found. 10 years later, 13% of the class that had written goals were twice as successful as that 84% who hadn't set any goals, which I think is pretty impressive. But the 3% that set a goal and set a plan for attaining it were 10 times more successful than the other 97% of the class. So I did a lot of research is this accurate? How usable is this? This seems to be pretty much across the board. It's the people that set goals and write down the plan of how they're going to get there are the most successful. So everyone in this class is going to be top 3% because we're all going to have a goal and then set a plan to get there. I think planning is the most difficult part of it. You can come up with a goal. I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30, because I'm not quite 30 yet. But how am I going to get there? You can't just make a wish. It's just a wish if you don't have a plan. It's kind of like if 84% of you said, I'm hungry, and then 13%, I'm hungry and I want pizza. But the 3% said, I'm hungry, I want pizza, and then you pull up your MapQuest and you find a pizza place, you find a car, you get in the car, and you drive to the pizza place. Who's the most successful? The 3%. So the 84% are still wandering around here bumping into each other, hungry. 13% are like, hungry, I don't want pizza, and they're walking around the beach. But you 3% are sitting there eating delicious pizza. Makes sense, right? So on your papers, the first question is, have you set a goal and a plan to attain it? Have you set a goal? If you have, feel free to write it down. Do you have a plan? I don't mind if you write while I'm talking. So I want you all to have pizza and know how to get there. So good planning and strategy paired with your goals is going to equal success. So we're going to go into the 4 Ps. Now, if you're an MBA, this is going to drive you crazy because I took the 4 Ps of marketing and I made it the 4 Ps of starting your business. One of the arguments that MBAs and IO psychs get into, we like to tease each other. So my boss has an MBA and this drives him crazy, so I did it on purpose. So the 4 Ps of starting your own business: product. What are you selling? Price. How much are you selling it for? This really matters. And we're going to get into that because a lot of people who are holistic practitioners don't like to put a price on their gift. A lot of people who are healers feel that they should give their gift away. And we're going to talk about that because I don't quite believe that. And placement. Where are you going to work? What are you going to do? You have this skill now. You have this service. Where are you going to do it? And we're going to talk a little bit about you just don't have a shell with a recliner and a door. There's a strategy to that. And then your promotion. How are you going to sell your service? What are you going to do? And this is the one I think that trips most people up. You can get the skill to have your service or have your product. You can set a price, you can have a place, but how do you get those people in? I was a massage therapist for many years and a yoga teacher. Yoga teaching is a little bit easier. You show up at a studio, people come to your class. Massage therapy was a little harder. And I kind of put our skills and services together. How do you get somebody to trust you and come see you? And they're completely vulnerable. You're asking somebody to lay down, close their eyes, and tell you maybe their deepest, darkest secret. What do we do? How do we get there? So those are 4 Ps: product, price, placement, and promotion. And if any of you are into marketing, you know that there's the 5 Ps, the 7 Ps, the 9 Ps. We're going to stick with 4 because I thought I had 45 minutes. Don't heckle me from the back, Peter. I will make you leave your own classroom. I do have access to his website, so be nice. So the first P is product. This is where you're going to define what you're selling. And in this category, you can also start to define your business concept. Are you just going to do regression hypnotherapy, and I assume some people here have other modalities or other parts of their practice that they're adding regression hypnosis to. And that's wonderful. And yes, if you like, you can take pictures of my slides. I have no problem with you doing that. Hopefully they're that interesting that you want to. So the first question you can ask yourself is, what are you selling? Because you're selling something. I'm assuming some of you want to go out and make money. So it's in exchange for goods or services. You're selling a service. At this point, it's an intangible service. You're not selling, a bottle of water. This is easy. You can see it, you can feel it, you can talk about this bottle of water. It's a little harder to sell something that's intangible. So for the sake of this class, I'm going to assume everybody's selling regression hypnosis. This will make it much easier for our discussion today. So can you fully describe your service? And don't just say regression hypnosis. What is it? Because if you're trying to get people who maybe have never had a hypnotherapy session before, especially regression hypnosis, which is, as you know, much different than kind of a more mainstream weight loss, smoking cessation. That makes sense to people a little bit more. But regression hypnosis, how the heck are you going to describe that? You really need to take time to think about that. And I know you've been in class with Peter for 6-7 days now? And you have all this verbiage and text and words swirling in your head. But you need to be able to talk about your service in about 90 seconds. Can you do that? You could probably talk about it quickly or forever, but try to hone it to that 60-90 seconds. Regression hypnotherapy is, I do ... So really describe it. What is past life? Because this is just past lives, right? In between lives, life between lives, perinatal. Everything, okay. So you got to be able to describe that because it is kind of abstract. So you need to take that abstract point of view and make it a little more tangible for people. Massage therapy is easy. Everybody knows what that is. I'm a sports massage therapist. That's easy enough. Regression hypnotherapy, think about it. How to make that intangible a little bit more tangible. And then, what do my services do? So you're probably going to have two different kinds of clients. And this happens even here at the ARE and the Casey Riley School. They're the ones who know everything about what you're doing. They sought you out. They want to see you. They want a regression. And then you're going to have the other group who have no idea what you do, and they're terrified. The ones that know what you do, they're an easy sell. You say, I do this, these are my qualifications. As soon as you tell them that you went to the ARE and Peter was your teacher, in the bucket. But it's the ones that are challenged, they're a little afraid. How do you make them feel comfortable in your text? How do you tell them what you're doing is safe, it's healing? How do you make them feel comfortable? You really need to be able to describe those services. And how is your service better than somebody else's? I don't know. You know that. You're the best. You came here to the ARE, spent time with one of our lead instructors, so you are the best. You need to be able to say how you're better without putting anyone else down. I don't believe in that. I don't believe you need to put anyone else down to make yourself the best. They're the best at something. I don't like when I see, those political ads? Why can't they all just be nice? Why do they have to say, in 3rd grade, Joe Schmo kicked his playground partner in the face. Don't vote for him, vote for me. And I'm just being nice because we could get way worse than that. I don't believe in that. Why can't people just talk about their benefits and how positive they are? So that's what I think you should all do. I don't believe in bashing anyone, even if they deserve it. So who's going to buy your product? Who's going to buy this service? Do you have, when I ask you that question, do you actually get a picture of someone in your mind? Who's your client? The answer is not everybody. And I talk about this in my massage therapy class because they're very sweet and they want to go out and heal the entire world. And let me tell you, the whole world does need healing. We can go back to those political ads. But the whole world is not your client. You need to hone that down. In a little bit, we're going to talk about demographics and psychographics. But for right now, you can write it down. Who's your ideal client? Are they healthy, unhealthy? Why do they need your help? What do they look like even? Male, female, tall, short. It's like a muse for you. And why are they buying your service? Why are they coming to see you? I mean, how many are in this class? There's 62 of you. And I know you're dispersed all over the country and the world. But why is a client coming to see you? There's this thing called imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard of it? It's an old theory. It was done in the 70s. And it was mostly done on women. It was eventually expanded to men as well. But it was women who were re-entering the workforce. And they would get a job, a really good job, because these women were educated. They would get a really good job and feel like a complete fraud. They had the credentials, they had the experience, they had the knowledge, they had the power to be there. But they were terrified that someone was going to find out that they were faking it all. But they weren't. So whenever I ask, why is a client coming to see you? The answer is because you're good enough. You're good. And a little bit that imposter syndrome may come in because you're going to meet somebody who maybe has 10 years of experience. It doesn't make you any less than them. You just don't have 10 years of experience. You're not an imposter. You're not a fake. You're not a fraud. How are you going to write that text to be truthful, to be powerful, and to really talk about you in the best light? Because you're not imposters. And neither were these women and eventually men in this study. They were all really, really good at their jobs. They just felt like they weren't. It's interesting. Have you ever felt like that before? You've been given a job and you're like, I am going to screw this up. You're like, why did they even hire me? They could have found 10 other people better than me. Then why didn't they? Why are you hired? You were chosen for a reason. That client chose you. You're not an imposter. So how will you promote this service? And we're going to talk about this later too, but I just want you to think about it. How are you going to promote it? What are you going to do? I'm curious to see what your ideas are. Because there's always the obvious, I'll take out an ad in the newspaper. I haven't seen a newspaper in 10 years. I am going to put an ad in the Yellow Pages. How many of you have seen a Yellow Pages in the past 10 years? We're not going to do that. Actually, I do have a phone book at my house, and I use it to light my fireplace. It is the perfect paper. Crumple it up, put it in there, lights it up nicely. And a newspaper, you go to a coffee shop, I feel like I'm handling an antique. I'm like, what is this thing? So that's not the places we're going to talk about. But think about where you're going to promote your business. And we will get there last. And my last point, I never have a last point. Never believe me when I say that. My next point is, who are your competitors? I also like to put a slash. Who are your complementers? Because competitors, in this industry, you're not really going head to head. You're not Ford trying to outdo Chevy. My truck is better and I have a bigger payload. But really, who's out there in that industry? Who are your other regression hypnotherapists in your community or whatever you're doing? My advice is when you go home, look up who's in town. Who's your competitor? If someone were to go on Google and research regression hypnosis in Lancaster, how many will pop up? I have no idea. Let's say 6, and you're one of them. Research the other 5. See what they're doing. Where did they go to school? What do they charge? What do they look like? What are their credentials? Why not? There's no need to reinvent the wheel here. This wheel is already rolling. You just need to figure it out. So look at what's going on. And I said put slash complementers because those are the people where you're going to do some complementary therapy with. Maybe find a massage therapist in town and you guys can share an office. Complementary alternative medicine is the way to go. You guys have all heard this. CAM, you'll see it. Complementary alternative medicine. And that's with you working with, maybe there's an infertility doctor who wants his patients to have some regression hypnotherapy before they go into in vitro. How do you get into that field? So there's the competitor, the people doing the same thing as you. What are they doing? And I would suggest don't just look in your town, look everywhere. When because I do business consulting, so I always look, what are business consultants in San Diego doing? Because, I don't know, I think San Diego is super cool. So like, what are they doing there? I'm a tried and true East Coaster, and I just went to the West Coast to San Francisco. And I consider myself pretty liberal. Well, when I went to San Francisco, I was like right wing, conservative. And I'm like, I'm cool. And these people are like, you're not. And my hair, like my skin's all dry because I'm used to humidity, you know. Just saying. Getting contact high walking down the street. It was San Francisco. But really, I like to look everywhere. I like to look at what's happening in my town, and I like to look at what's happening all over the country. Because really, the West Coast does lead in thought on complementary medicine. So if you can look around and see what's going on the West Coast, and you happen to be an East Coaster, you can bring that over here. And then, like I said, your complementers. Find somebody that you can work with. It's really nice to have a referral base. And it's really nice to have someone to bounce ideas off. And you say, you're a Reiki master, I do regression hypnosis. How can we work together? Can they get a Reiki session and then come to me? Should they get hypnosis and go to you? And then everybody's taken care of. You have a thoughtful look on your face. John says he always has a thoughtful look on his face. Either that or he was giving me a stink eye, I don't know. So here's another thing to ponder. So you have your service, regression hypnotherapy, but think about it, what are you really selling? Yourself, but you're selling one other thing, an experience. You're selling a full and entire experience. And we're gonna get into this a bit more, but remember, everything matters. How you answer your phone, how you dress, and I don't mean you need to look fancy in the highest fashion. How you dress matters, how you speak, what your office looks like, what your website looks like, and you will have a website. Everything matters. From the second that prospective client looks you up on the website, on the internet, it's an experience for them. What does your website look like? What does your business face page look like? Maybe they saw you on Instagram. And then they need to see a picture of you on your website because I'm not coming unless I know what you look like. And then I want to see what your office looks like, and we're going to get into this later because I have a picture of Peter's office. Woo! You're selling an experience. The regression hypnotherapy is what they're paying for and is the service they're getting. But if that experience is bad, you ever gone to a really, really nice restaurant and the food's great, but the service is atrocious? Are you gonna go back? Probably not. And what are you gonna do? You're gonna tell all your friends. I went to a Monty's, the pasta was pretty good, but the server kept picking her nose. You're never gonna go back. And then you've just grossed out all your friends. And none of your friends are gonna go. You do not need that. You want this to be an experience that they tell all of their friends how amazing and healing it was. So remember, your service is regression hypnotherapy, but you're selling the experience. It's kind of like ad companies don't sell campaigns, they sell sales. I don't put an ad in a magazine just to have an ad there. I put an ad in the magazine so someone sees it, so they call me, so they give me their money, so I can keep my job. You know, clothing stores aren't selling clothes, they're really selling identities. I mean, yeah, you need pants, but if you just needed pants, why do you try them on? You try them on because you want them to look good, you want them to feel good, be stylish. So that's what you're doing. You're selling an experience. Do you have any questions on this slide? I take that as a no. So, what are you going to charge for your services? So it's a what and a how. What are you going to charge and how are you going to do it? This is where it gets less fun when we talk about business. That's why I hit it after that first slide. So people who have a gift often feel completely reluctant to charge. And I think it's because you feel it's a gift from a higher power. So who am I to charge for something that's not really mine? Well, it's coming through you. Don't you think you should collect a toll? That gift is coming from a higher power. You're the vessel, and you're sharing it. You're the toll booth, man. You should be charging something for that. By the way, I just came up with that right now. I am collecting a toll for that one because that was from a higher power. But really, you paid for this class, and I'm sure you've paid for many other classes. You put a lot of time and thought and love into this, don't you? And when you get a client, do you take really good care of them? Right. You need to still be able to put food on your table. And there are some people who really do this out of love because they have the money and they don't need the income. Well, I am not one of those people. I do need to collect a toll. It's not bad karma to charge. Sometimes it's good karma because you're setting a boundary. I'm sure you've talked about boundaries in your class. Charging is actually one of your boundaries. Because when someone pays you, you tend to do actually a little bit better of a job. I was a massage therapist, like I said, for many years, and I charged. If a friend wanted to see me, this is what I said. Wonderful. Your shoulder hurts? I have an opening tomorrow at 9. Well, can't you work on it now? And I'd say, I could, but my shoulder hurts. And that was how I I said it funny, I said it sweet because I do love my friends, but no, I am not gonna go sit on the floor after I worked 9 hours and work on you. That's stepping over my boundary. No, I'm not saying you can't help someone out. That's beside the point. But if you start really giving it away, you know what people are gonna expect? Something for nothing. And that's not fair to you. It's not fair to your boundaries. It's probably not even fair to your families because I bet some of them are like, will you start charging already? So I know it's a lot to take in. So what are you charging for your services? Have any of you thought about what you want to charge? Okay. And we're going to talk about how you can come up with a very realistic number. So when you charge, you need to think of a couple things. How much you want to make. But then there's all this overhead. The rent, the lighting, advertising, all of that overhead, taxes. Because by the way, you do pay taxes. I hope all of you, we're not going to get into taxes too much because it's super boring. But you need to pay taxes. Get a good accountant. Because you're all going to be self-employed, I assume. Save your receipts. Have you talked about that at all? Okay. Thanks, Peter. That's why I'm here. So for some of you who are starting your own business, I'm going to go off my script a little bit. There's a couple things you need to do. I always suggest getting an accountant if you don't have one. You are going to need to pay quarterly taxes. If you don't pay quarterly taxes, you will have to pay a fine at the end of the year, or you don't get as much back. Disclaimer, I am not an accountant. I have an accountant, but I'm going to tell you what I know. With your taxes, you need to do them quarterly. You can do estimations of what your income is. So for the sake of math, let's say you make $100,000 a year, quarterly you make $25,000, you're going to claim $25,000 a quarter. At the end of the year is when you calculate your deductions. So, deductions are fun. Subscriptions to magazines, to professional organizations are considered deductions. Any equipment you buy, the table, the blankets, the lamp, fans, aromatherapy, lamps, lamp shades, light bulbs, that is all considered supplies. If you are a mobile service, your travel and gas is deductible. That gets tricky. You need an accountant for that. So anything you purchase as part of your business, save that receipt. I was super organized and I had a Ziploc bag. And I literally would just shove my receipts in a Ziploc bag. Because you are going to be way too busy thinking about all of this to say, let me get my accordion folder out and put my food receipt. Do whatever works for you. While I am type A, receipts just go in a bag. So at the end of the year, you put all your receipts together, and if you have a good accountant, he or she will say, what are your deductions? And you itemize them out. Does that make sense? Okay. That is my really quick overview of taxes and deductions. You want those deductions because now you've made $100,000 a year, and let's say you've paid out $50,000 in expenses. On your taxes, you just claim that you have an income of $50,000. And let me tell you, the difference in $100,000 and $50,000 in taxes is quite different. And since you've paid taxes on $25,000 a quarter, you most likely will get money back. That is my super quick overview of taxes. So you need to consider that. An accountant, a good accountant, doesn't cost much in comparison to how much they're going to help you. I used to pay about $250 a year for an accountant because I only saw her at the end of the year. If you have a business and you have something that's very complicated, you may need to spend a little more, but it's not like big corporate taxes where you have someone on retainer. And your accountant is tax deductible. Legal fees, anything like that. Your insurance is tax deductible, practice insurance. So, how did you guys get to the number of what you want to charge? Did you make it up? Did Peter tell you? Did you see it somewhere? Because we're going to do some, it's going to look really complicated, but we're going to do some math. Are you ready? So this is all on the back sheet of your handout. So the back page of your handout. So, how we do, and this is, like I said, this is just going to give you an overview. We're not adding everything in. So you have to figure out how many hours a week you want to work and how many weeks a year, realistically. So let's say you want to work 1,500 hours a year. That's about 28 hours a week, 40 weeks out of the year. It's a pretty good amount of time, right? And then you have to decide how much you want to make a year. Let's say you want to make $100,000. I have $100,000 as just a good round number. So you want to make $100,000 a year, but you have a little bit of overhead, which is about 20 grand. So you need to now make $120,000 a year because you want your income in your pocket before taxes be $100,000. And then you want to make a profit. So you want to make a 10% profit every year, which is about $12,000. So $132,000. That's what you need to bring in a year. And like I said, this is just an overview. So if you need to bring in $132,000 a year and you want to work 1,500 hours a year, you need to charge $88 an hour. Round that up to 90. So at the bottom, you see it says, do your own math. So if you like, I want to work blank number of hours a week times how many weeks a year equals so many hours. You want to make so much money plus your overhead. Total that together times 10% profit margin. Add line 2 and 3 together, and then you get a fantastic number at the end. That gives you a ballpark number. And you can see with this how you can add some other stuff in if you need to. But I want you to have a really good idea of how you should charge. Because remember, a goal without a plan is just a wish. If you don't plan it out, and you say, I want to make $100,000 a year, but I'm only going to charge $22 an hour, and I only want to work 5 hours a week, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to get there. You put whatever number you want in here, but I want you to have a price plan. Now, this gets a little more complicated if you start selling products, because usually there's about a 50 to 100% markup, so you have that in there. That's kind of like a passive income. That starts to get a little more complicated, but I really wanted to talk about this overview of how you charge per hour. Does anybody want to tell me what they want to charge per hour, or how you're going to do this?
I think the bigger question is how you're going to get 28 or 30 clients a week.
Okay, the bigger question is how you're going to get 28 or 30 clients a week. That is a very fair question. We'll get there.
So I did the calculation, I should charge 88 an hour.
Okay, she did the calculation, 88 an hour. That's pretty good. So we were probably right on target with each other once you have 28 clients. So the reason I say this is, and that's a very good question, how are you going to get 28 clients? Well, the thing is, until you get 28 clients, you still have to charge $88 an hour. You can't say, okay, you're my one client, $2,000. That would be nice if they floated you for a while, but that's not going to work. Come up with a price and stick to it. One of the things I've seen a lot of business owners do, 6 months in, they get nervous. They change the prices. So imagine you're a consumer and you want to go to get a regression. And yesterday it was $88, but today it's $128. And then you look next week and it's $250. You know, stick with a price. And that's why I want you to do a calculation so you understand what you need to do. And that is for 28 or 30 clients a week. And you can adjust that for you. It's up to you. That's hours though, 28 hours. So if you do 2-hour sessions, you're gonna double that price. Yeah, makes sense? Do you have any questions on this? This can get heady and complicated, so I tried to make it as easy as possible.
What do you think of, like, if you offered a package, you know, say it's like, okay, you come and we'll address these things, more like a
Yeah.
coaching thing. Do you think giving them a reduced rate for a package is a good business plan?
So the question is, what about packages? Packages are wonderful, and you can package together prices and make like a bulk price, but don't undercut yourself too much, because remember, you then have to do all of those hours to work with them. Do something that makes you comfortable. So if you're charging $90 an hour, so 90 times 5 is $450. So instead of charging them $450, you charge them $425. I have this thing about freebies and undercutting yourself. I prefer value added. Buy a package that's $450 and get a complimentary Reiki session. And I'm not saying don't discount, that's on you. My philosophy is value added. What can you add to the value? Does that make sense? So you can say, with every 5 whatever services you're offering, I will give you a bottle of lavender oil. Value added, add something to it. When you start to get into discounts, it starts to get very complicated. And I'm not saying you can't do a couple discount. You know, my husband and I both want to come 5 times. What can you do for us? But make sure you have it written. I would not get into the habit of making deals willy-nilly. You get one price and you get another price and you get another price, because eventually they're all going to talk. And they're going to say, why does Diana get it for $88, but Patricia gets, hers is $38, and mine's $110. Don't do that. And it's good for you. It creates a boundary. Remember, we talk about those boundaries. This is on your back sheet. So if anybody's wondering, you can flip your whole thing over and I have it on the back. If you have the desire to do some of your own math. Any questions? I'm going to move on. Yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned taxes earlier.
Yeah.
Would you just go ahead and add
Yep.
whatever your, okay.
I would put that in that overhead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Overhead is anything you're going to have to pay out to keep the business alive. And there's going to be things you're going to be like, oh, toilet paper. Oh, I need to have water. There's always a surprise. I remember I had a massage therapy business, and I forgot to add in how much washing the sheets cost. Yes?
What about pricing for group regressions?
Pricing for group regressions. That's an interesting question. I would charge more than $90, but I wouldn't charge per. It really would, it would depend on a couple things. Are they new? Have they never done this before? Are they experienced? And what's it worth to you? Is it difficult to do a group regression? I've never regressed a group of people. Easier? I would come up with a good number that satisfied you, because I think about it this way. If you're doing a group, you probably spent a couple hours prepping for it. So maybe if you have a group, times that by 4 hours. So you could do 90 times 4 hours. Do something that feels comfortable to you. And then what I would do if I had a group like that, I would offer them all to come back and they could get, a Reiki session. Come back and do an individual. You get 1 hour plus a Reiki session or whatever your thing is. Okay. Yeah, but don't underprice it, but definitely value for the group. Okay. Any more questions? Remember I told you I was going to show you a picture of Peter's office? It's not really his office. This is way worse. But what do you think when you look at that office? Do you want to go have a regression there?
No, I don't even want to go there.
Right. So this is a dorm room of a student in Japan. This is an actual picture of his or her dorm room. If I found out that my child's room looked like that, we would have some problems. Looks like that person never actually stood up out of the chair. So the reason I wanted to show you this was for exactly the reaction you just gave. Would you go there? No. I hope not. If your answer is yes, we can talk later. But seriously, what does your office look like? Think about where you're going to have an office. Is it going to be at home, in an office building, a health center, in a van down by the river? That was my Chris Farley tribute. So regardless of where you have your office, you have to think, will my client enjoy the experience? The service is inevitable. You're going to do regression hypnotherapy. But will they enjoy the experience? Would anyone enjoy this experience? No. And like I said, if you said yes, we'll talk later. The client needs to feel like they're safe. And remember, when they're in this vulnerable position, they're reclined, eyes closed, you're the protector. You're there to make sure no one comes in the room. You're there to make sure the heat's okay. You're there to make sure they're comfortable and they have a blanket. You're there to protect them and to make them feel comfortable in this setting. You're part of their experience. So feeling safe is unbelievably important. So one of my favorite researchers, Dr. Porges, Porges, I did not get it on the slide. Dr. Porges, he's a pioneer in the field of neuroscience and really studies the autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system is what governs the autonomous systems in our body, breathing, blood pressure, the processing in all of our organs. So when a person is comfortable, they're in a parasympathetic state. So parasympathetic is that rest and digest, that calm state. I'm assuming that's where you want a client. What happens, though, is when these people don't feel safe, and this is what Dr. Porges talks about. When people don't feel safe, their sympathetic nervous system kicks in, and the higher functioning is decreased because this primal instinct starts to kick in. So if you were in this office, all of a sudden, this fight, flight, or freeze would kick in. Wouldn't you probably stand at the door if your therapist opened this? You'd stand there and you'd be like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Do I go in and have this therapy? Do I run? Do I fight my way out? Which you might have to fight your way out of that office. So what Dr. Porges talks about is that there is no way when somebody feels unsafe that they will ever relax. They also, if people feel unsafe and that autonomic nervous system is kicked in, if that sympathetic nervous system is activated, they are primal. They want to get out of there. Also, they are seeing everything in the room as a danger. They're looking for some point of egress. So the friendly faces I see now, I might see somebody looking away like, oh, they're going to get a weapon. I might see somebody advancing towards me as someone's trying to attack me. So when that sympathetic nervous system is kicked in, nothing is good. You cannot work on somebody when they're in a heightened state of fear. Making your client feel safe should be part of your experience. So that's why I talk about the office so much, the place where your client's going to go. You ever been to one of those discount stores and there are clothes all over the floor? How do you feel? For me, I feel like claustrophobic and my mouth gets dry and all I want to do is get out of the store. People they love that stuff. I don't know how they love it. It's part of them. They must like that go of it. I don't love that. But when I go into a really nice store and all the clothes are on the rack, I'm relaxed and I can look through everything. That's my experience. I want a relaxed experience. And we want our clients to be calm and safe. So on your website or in your brochure, on your website would be the better place. For your client to feel safe, make sure you have a picture of your offices. And you can even say things like, look at my beautiful office. It's so safe. One of the things I've learned, having lots of psychologists and psychiatrist friends, people feeling safe in your office. You can work better when you're safe at home. You know Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once those basic needs of safety are met, you can move to higher levels of cognitive development and higher realization. So you want that client, that experience, for them to already feel safe with you. That's my office. But which one would you rather be in? Right. Nice, clean, bright. So I wrote some text down here just as a fun thing. Our offices are located in a beautiful downtown loft in the Arts District. Ooh, I want to go there. With ample free parking. I have parking anxiety, so I like ample free parking. If I have to find parking, my boyfriend had to drop me off outside of a restaurant last night because he drove around the block 3 times, and it was driving me crazy. I'm like, I don't care, just let me out. Secure and comfortable treatment rooms. And a friendly staff. We're happy to have you come in for a consultation. Isn't that nice? If an on-site visit doesn't work for you, ask about our online video conference appointments. So nice. It's our intention to meet you where you are so that you can heal from the inside out. I'll take your money now. And have photos. But you see how that little tiny bit, you all feel comfortable. Everyone went, oh. beautiful downtown, and I'm not saying that's what it is. If you have a home office, a comfortable home office, comfortable office in my home, have a picture. Because like when I go to someone's home, I'm like, am I gonna have to walk past their husband sitting on the couch smoking cigarettes? You know, take a picture. Have something kind of inviting. You're all laughing at me, but don't you think it has not happened? I once did a massage for somebody in their living room. She goes, okay, we're gonna do a home visit. I said, that's great. And I charge more for home visits. So I go and I set up, and school let out, and all of her children came home. Who wanted 1 hour massage with their kids running around? And then I had to give it. And I'm thinking, this is awful. So you want to make sure it's nothing like that. Question.
Why do you charge more for home visits?
Because it's more work. If I have an office, my stuff is already there. If I have to do a home visit, need my chair, I need my stuff, I need my music, I got to get in my car. So let's say you live an hour away, I've got to start this 2 hours before, I need to get in my car, I have to drive to your place, I have to see you for 2 hours, and I have to drive home my whole day to see one client. They're going to pay me for that. That's why I charge more. You guys probably have slightly less stuff than a massage therapist, but I still would absolutely charge more for an on-site visit. It sets precedent. And really, it is so much easier when they come to you. If you have the means to afford a space. If you don't have the means to afford a space, out calls will work. A lot of people can't afford an office space. So when I go to you, I'm not renting an office space. I had somebody make a face like, what do you mean? Make sense? Okay. You have a question? Oh, I thought you had this face of like, what is she talking about? Promotion. How are you going to promote your business? I mean, it's one of those things. You have this beautiful place in your house, let's say. It's gorgeous, but no one knows about it. That's sad. I want people to know about it. So the number one way anyone finds out about your business, do you know? Word of mouth, referrals. That's why your experience has to be stellar. Perfect. Beautiful. Word of mouth. And you know what? Good word of mouth spreads. Do you know how quick bad word of mouth spreads? 10 times as fast. And it is really, really hard to get that second chance. You know that thing, you never get a second chance at a first impression? It's actually true. Even when you come back to that, they're still in the back of their head. I don't know. I got a bad feeling about this. To change their mind can take a while. You don't want to have to change anybody's mind. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to get a client that you have to fire. You could get a bad client. Let him go. And if he says anything bad, say, hey man, remember I fired you because you were inappropriate. Please stop. That will happen. I hope it doesn't, but it might. So remember earlier we talked about your perfect client. Who's your perfect client? You brought this image of a human to mind. I hope it's a human. It doesn't have to be a human. I mean, if you know non-humans, that's fine. We won't get into aliens right now. And we're recording this, and this is going in my classroom, and I just got aliens in. Yeah. So you really want to think about the demographics of your client. Who are they? How old are they? What's their gender? What's their income? What's their education level? Do you have any idea? What are you thinking? I have an idea. They probably have some money. And I don't mean incredibly wealthy, but probably have some money to pay for your services. They may be older. They're probably very curious. That would be in psychographics. So think about, what is your client's interest, hobbies, philosophies, beliefs? Because not all belief systems are going to get a regression hypnotherapy session. And I don't mean religious people, because I know plenty of people who are religious people and they do hypnotherapy. It's more about beliefs. Do they believe in it? Do they believe it's going to work? And why does this target market want your service? Think about that. Why do they want it? If you can come up with this, you can advertise. Because we talked about the newspaper. No one really reads the newspaper anymore, unfortunately, especially not in paper form. And very few people, I really don't know if you can even get a phone book anymore. So those two things are out. Can you? Oh, interesting. Maybe they'll bring me my Montgomery Ward's catalog too. Oh, you all laughed. My massage therapy students are far too young to understand that. Or the Christmas catalogs, yeah, and you'd go in and circle everything you wanted. Yeah. I can't believe they exist. Talk to those marketing people. But you want to know who's purchasing your product and describe this customer. My customer shops at Whole Foods, drives a used Volvo, and probably has a master's degree. They are partially retired, their husband is fully retired, they have grandchildren, and want to know more about their past lives because they've been having strange dreams. They also are really into Edgar Cayce, the ARE, and they listen to meditation CDs to fall asleep at night. Did I describe anybody here? I've been doing this a long time. The Volvo? Ah, I'm right here with you. I'm right here. But that's what I'm getting at. A study was done on people who shopped at Trader Joe's. I love this. And that's why I said they were tenured professors who drove used Volvos and lived in the suburbs. That is the customer that shops at Trader Joe's. Somebody got paid a lot of money to come up with that demographic. You can do this on your own, especially if you're already seeing people. If you're already seeing clients, what do they look like? If you were going to do an amalgamation of all of them, put them all together, layered, what's the common denominator? And that's your client. Most of my clients, when I was a yoga instructor, were women between the ages of 30 and 55 who didn't work. Bless you. So really coming up with who they are helps. So, where are you going to advertise? You have to have a website. You have no choice. I mean, you totally have a choice, but you have to have a website. They are so cheap. You can get a website for like $6 a year. Oh yeah, you can. Wix, W-I-X, Squarespace, $10 a month. All you have to do is buy a domain name. www.idoregressions.com costs you $10 for 2 years.
There's other things that go along with it, especially when it's e-commerce, when it comes to transactions.
Depends if you want to do e-commerce on there.
Yeah.
That is an interesting conversation. So, what's your name, Jim? Jim asked about e-commerce. So, $6 a year, easy peasy website. If you want to do e-commerce on there, meaning you want to take payment for your services on the website, it's a great idea. You don't have to do it. If you want to add e-commerce, Squarespace only upcharges probably about $6 a month for e-commerce. It's not a lot anymore. It used to be way more expensive. Essentially, it syncs up with your PayPal account. Somebody logs on, they prepay. Prepaying's amazing. Because if they cancel, they can't have their money back. They can just use it for something else.
There are add-ons, though. I know that.
Of course there are.
There's like things are going to like, is it HTTPS?
Yep.
And then SSL. So I mean that's.
There's a whole lot of add-ons, but these companies absorbing those costs.
And if
It's
someone can't design, then I got to find somebody to design as well.
so.
And that's why I can.
I hear you. I know you can do design. That's going to cost them a bit more money. I'm trying to stay on the cheap for these people. But it's not a bad idea. Once your business really gets going, find yourself a good designer, someone who understands. I don't even want to get into SEO and all of that. Well, I don't even want to go there.
Well, that's how they find you, though.
Yes. Well, yes, and we're getting there. So the website is inevitable. You have to have it because what's the first thing you do when you hear about something?
Google it.
And you check on them, right? Last night I drove past this place. Do I need to wrap it up? 5 minutes. He's so mean. Okay, that's why we didn't get into SEO.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing, and we can.
That's why people say, like, I have this website, and it's been there, and nobody's finding
Yep.
it. Because the SEO is so interesting.
So SEO means search engine optimization. Squarespace has it built in. You do need to still go in and look at it, but there are places where it's built in. Once your business gets bigger, you need to look more at SEO, the search engine optimization. Yeah, because people need to find you. But also there's some other things, and I would love to get in. We could have a whole class on websites and Google searches and things like that. But also a Facebook business page. Some people use that, yes.
You said something about Wix. What was
Wix is the name of a website hosting platform. Yep. So you need business cards, brochures. I would suggest giving lectures. Instagram if you're good at it. If you're not, don't. If you're not good at it, don't do it. People will definitely want to meet you. Join a local networking group. I'm part of a networking group. I love it. Word of mouth. Email marketing's okay, but it's dying. Text message marketing's the next thing. The next thing is push notifications. So you know on your phone, the thing comes up and they're like, oh, the brewery's having a party tonight. Those are push notifications. That's where it's going. And a map. App. Oh, yeah. You pay a lot of money for an app. So always have a well-written bio. Describe yourself. Have pictures. Qualifications. Let people feel like they know you. Because when you do go to that networking event and you give someone a card, all they have is that card and this brief, quick interaction with you, and then they're going to go home and look you up. So your website has to look nice. And it doesn't have to be big and complicated. I tell people start with just a couple pages. Okay. We are not going to have too much time for being an ethical entrepreneur, but this is my pitch for being a good planetarian, being a good earthling. Lead by example. Embrace humanity. Treat people well. Think about the environment. Think about maybe buying used office furniture rather than new. Think about recycling. Homeland economy. Pay your people well. Buy things in your community. Maybe it's a little more expensive than on Amazon, but that $80 painting you bought at Target, you could have given to a local artist. And give back. You have to give to receive. So, I have like 3 minutes. You don't have to be perfect. Just be the best human being you can be.